Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is the Piracy Show. Now, today's show, we're going to look at three specific ships. Going into the anniversary sale, we're going to talk about three specific ships, and these are ships that I would say should be avoided. One of them, I'm not too sure that it's going to be available because there's a bit of a special circumstance, so I'm going to start off with that one, but the other two, I definitely think you should stand away from and be very leery of. Not just because, say, oh, this is put in the wrong place or that, but, you know, there are larger circumstances behind these ships and why I would be very, very cautious. And I most certainly would never recommend spending your money on any of these when there are so many fantastic ships out there. But these are three that I would be extremely cautious with. So, without further ado, let's get started. Number one, the Aegis Redeemer. Now, hold on. I know there's a few of you who watch this channel who own this ship or still own this ship. And I am not saying that this is a crappy ship, but the circumstances around this ship are something to be very careful with. Now, first off, for those of you who don't know, this was the TNGS ship, which is the next great starship. This was voted on by the community. It won. Sorry, but it did win. And, you know, a lot of people had disagreements with it. And that's fine. That's fair. Some people had disagreements with the designer. That's fair. But it is, in the end, the ship that won. And I know that there are some people out there who still own it. And there is a good ship here. Believe me when I say this, there is a good ship here. Now, many people have gone out and tried to design slightly upgraded versions that might ease some people's visual suffering at looking at this. And some of these designs have been quite nice, and they've kind of updated the ship and made it look really good. And it, you know, there is a good ship here. There's a heck of a lot of firepower strapped to this thing. We use it often as a comparison against the Vanguard. And there's a heck of a lot of firepower. There's a good ship here, and I've said it before. I mean, you switch those engine pods with the engine pods on just about any other ship that was in that contest, and you would take away probably half the people who don't like this ship. They would be all aboard for this thing. The reason why I don't recommend it, and the reason why I'm so cautious behind it, is what has happened since. Now, I think one of the big factors in what has happened to this ship is those engine pods. I think that that was something that CIG didn't like because it was too different. And I think that that's why, because during the contest, CIG actually voted this ship out of the contest, and it was the fans who voted it back in. And I think that this has always been something that CIG has never quite been able to stomach, or at least maybe Chris Roberts or someone else in CIG, they've never quite been able to stomach this ship. And so it keeps getting put off and it keeps getting pushed back. At one point, Paul DeLacy, who originally designed it and went to work at CIG, was going to give this ship a once over, and then it was going to go into production, and then that dropped off the schedule, and he has since left CIG. And ever since then, you know, Chris Roberts has said, well, the ship is going in for a bit of a redo, and that's why we don't want to sell it anymore. And it dropped off the store this summer, and we haven't really heard anything about it since. So the future for this ship is quite uncertain at the moment. And unlike, say, the Cutlass Black, which got its redo, and I think really took a huge leap forward with that, we don't know what that's going to entail for the Redeemer, and there hasn't been a lot of request for community feedback on that. So when and if and where that all gets done, who knows at this point. So that ship, at its core, I like it. It's a good ship, but visually it doesn't agree with a lot of people, and its future right now, uncertain. Next up, the Vanguard Warden. Now, ordinarily, this would be the time to make some jokes about the Vanguard Warden, but I think that at its core, the Vanguard Warden is a sad story. It really is, because a long, long time ago, the community voted on this ship to be the next concept ship. It was called the Aegis Bulldog, and it was the twin-engine long-range fighter. And that eventually evolved into this. And it's not really a fighter. It's a gunship. But I think what kind of happened with this ship is that CIG saw an opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Maybe they weren't all that happy with the Redeemer. Maybe they wanted something else to act as a bit of a troop carrier in Squadron 42. We knew very early on that this thing was being, put right into production because they wanted it in Squadron 42. Then they kind of said, oh, no, we never said that. It's like, yeah, no, you did. And it's like, oh, yeah, we did, but no. And then, of course, then we later on found out, oh, yeah, it is in Squadron 42. Who knew? But I think that in that mad rush to get this ship done and to get it out and to get it for that 2016 release date, there was a lost opportunity to really kind of confront the problems with this ship. Like the Cutlass Black. The Cutlass Black was always going to get a rework because the original Cutlass Black that we had, that we flew around in, that we had in our hangar before we even had the Arena Commander, that was going to need an update, irregardless, when Star Citizen became a thing. That was going to happen anyway. But it was a lot of that community feedback also drove that. And drove it to get a lot of the fixes that it needed. This ship never benefited from that because, there was a lot of people, myself included, who were kind of saying, what happened here? No. But there were still a lot of people, oh no, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's fantastic. And I think there was enough people and there was enough of a surge to kind of get this done that it never really got the fixes that it needed. And it has gone so far now that in order to really incorporate the kind of fixes that this ship needs, it would involve structural changes. It would involve, moving some parts around, shrinking it down. I think that in the end, it's too far gone now to actually get a twin-engine long-range fighter out of this. The Harbinger and the Sentinel, E-War may work out and may work in some really good ways. Who knows, the Hoplite may turn out, the bomber version may turn out. But the fighter version is just, it's never going to be a good fighter. And the fact that it has long range and resiliency are meaningless if it can't fight. All that really gives you is the ability to travel a very long distance, and then that resiliency gives you an extra long amount of time to savor getting your ass kicked, because it's just, in the end, a terrible fighter. And so any chance to really fix it, I think, has been lost. And the kind of changes and fixes that this ship needs really are kind of extensive. And so I think that the Vanguard Warden specifically, the Harbinger, the Sentinel, the Hoplite, they may turn out because they have specific roles, and those roles they may perform well in. But as a fighter, the Vanguard Warden is a lost cause. And I don't think CIG is going to step back and say, oh yeah, and let's change it, because that means changing every other one as well. So Vanguard Warden, lost cause. The variants, possibly, maybe good. We will see. But this, no. It's a waste of money. Lastly, the Genesis Starliner. Now, I know that there are still some fans of this ship out there. And they're probably like, oh my god, what do you mean? The Genesis Starliner is amazing. I can't wait to fly it. I want to be that airline pilot guy. I want to be the person who flies the personnel transport or the cargo transport missions. This is the ship that I want. What do you mean it's a terrible ship? I don't mean that it's a terrible ship. Now, in the way that it's designed, in the way that it's built out, will it fulfill the role? Absolutely. It's designed very well for that. It's not unpleasing to the eye. There's no real deficiency to the design whatsoever. It's perfectly good. There's nothing wrong with it, except for one thing. I'm pretty sure CIG has forgotten this thing even exists. Now, the Genesis Starliner wasn't quite so boring in the beginning. It was originally up to the community as a vote against the Asperia Prowler, the stealth boarding ship. Now, this contest opened up the exact same time as we found out about the new symmetrical herald. This is the letter from the chairman, November 6, 2014. You can go look it up, pause the video, and you'll see. These two ships went up for a vote against each other, and the Prowler won, but not quite. You see, what had happened is there was a real grassroots movement on the forum saying, oh my God, we need a passenger liner. We need a passenger liner. But a lot of people wanted the stealth boarding ship. And so when the time limit on that vote had passed, the Prowler had won. However, nobody closed the polls. So people kept voting for the Genesis Starliner after the fact. And so both ships in the end kind of won and would go into production. The Asperia Prowler. The Genesis Starliner would be the first one that we would see. Now, of course, the Genesis Starliner's launch was all kinds of fanfare. Everyone was excited about it. We saw them showing us blockouts of what the different versions could look like, and there were so many versions. There was a troop transport version, there was a cargo version, there was a VIP version. There was everything. There was all kinds of lore. We even had the little safety brochure that you get in your airline seat that tells you what not to do and what to do in an emergency, all that sort of thing. There was all kinds of hype for this ship. There were Q&As. There was all kinds of stuff. People got really, really excited about it. And then it all just vanished. All the talk, all the hype, all the what's going to happen with this ship, all that just vanished. It was gone. It was whispers now in little corners of the forum or now on Spectrum. No one really even remembers this ship exists. And it's one of those ships that if you mention it to someone, they go, oh yeah, wait, yeah, really? Oh yeah, I remember that now. In fact, you know, I think that if you ask CIG, hey, what's going on with the Genesis Starliner? They'd be like, what ship is that again? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is a terrible ship or there was any reason for people to stop talking about it. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, but I'm also pretty sure that at some point, a couple of years from now, at a CitizenCon or at a Gamescom, you know, they're going to be giving a presentation. And Chris is going to be like, hey, why don't you guys ask me some questions? And someone's going to say, hey, tell me about the Genesis Starliner. Wait, the what? The Genesis Who-liner? Wait, huh? 1 second.
Hey, Ben, did we actually make a ship called the Genesis something liner? Oh, shoot. Okay, tell Aaron to get started on it.
So, in the end, those are the three ships that I'd be most careful about in the Star Citizen lineup. Genesis Starliner, not because it's a bad ship, but because I'm pretty sure CIG has forgotten it even exists. But apart from that, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.